I see the fading lights.
From an evolutionary point of view, man is a bad adapter, but has learned through culture and technology to adapt the environment. As a naked monkey with no tusks and relatively few muscle strength, human culture and technology bypassed a small natural habitat. Evolution was sidetracked. Already with the appearance of modern man some 250,000 years ago, man had three important technologies at his disposal. First, language, religion, ethics, philosophy and logic and law, mathematics and code. And second, leverage, hammers, scrapers, and a little later wheels and pulleys, crankshafts, and finally third, fire, and much later electricity and nuclear energy. But it was not until the computer age that both mechanical and energetic processes could be directly controlled through code. With this, language took its crowning position. We have outsourced various survival processes to technological equipment, for instance digestion, pre-cooking to the pans and the fire in our kitchen, keeping warm to animal furs, wool, plastics and heaters, and memory processes and thought processes to cave drawings, books and a little later smart technology. Despite our naturally limited biotope, through technology we rule the entire planet, almost without evolutionary adaptations. A quantitative species became quantitative, large scale through technology. From a human point of view, our journey through history has been a great success, but is it? 7.8 billion people are alive right now. That makes up 7.1% of all 110 billion people that have ever lived. They make up 36% of all mammalian biomass. In addition, 60% of the total mammalian biomass is made up by consumption cattle, so only 4% is left for all the other mammals. 70% of all birds on Earth are poultry, mostly chicken, again kept in factory farming for our consumption. Obviously, our evolutionary flaws, which also include a slow reproduction rate, a very long gestation period with only one offspring per litter, are successfully bypassed. Our own slow biological reproduction capabilities have been compensated by external reproduction technology, which is reflected in transferable culture and technologies such as storytelling, ID sharing, instrument use, copy-paste technology, and now monocultures. Cultural diversity is under pressure. We are approaching the world through the same streaming services and social media apps. As a result, we increasingly communicate through the same images, music, and even speak the same language, English. Both English and smart technology are colonizing forces that have achieved what seemed impossible for thousands of years. Babylonian confusion of tongue is now largely evaporating. While we take advantage of the products that multinationals serve, we are increasingly colonized by them. ITL, in the loop. The entire human enterprise, the development of culture and technology, and thus the exclusion of evolution, rest on special human mental, psychological capacities, and as a result, emerging technology must also be viewed from a psychological perspective. Monocultures began to form our thoughts, needs, and wishes in a global state. They produced a gigantic melting pot in which biological and cultural diversity declined. However, infinite growth from finite resources is impossible. Man disrupts the planet, its environment, diversity, and with it also its own future, perspective, and thus life fulfillment. Moreover, technology, however disruptive it is still gaining momentum. Developments are currently moving at lightning speed. Even policymakers and governments can't keep up and regulate it when they absolutely have to. So, technology has sidelined biology. Evolutionary adaptations are very minimal, a little more or less pigment in response to the conditions of the sunlight, resulting in really only one human race. Therefore, racial discrimination is actually cultural discriminations. To understand human behavior and its motives, we need psychology instead of biology. Human cognition and emotion has not really changed in the few 100,000 years of our existence. By nature, we had to divide tasks into caring for the children, the environment, the community, and providing food. We were constantly on the guard for dangers. In times of plenty, much was eaten and converted into body fat, because times of scarcity were always lurking. Collaboration, looking for partners, caring for each other, hunting, but also suspicion and short-term planning are psychological fundamentals that are deeply rooted in our genome. However, in our large-scale organized technological world, our biological shortcomings are compensated. Machine predictability has replaced uncertainty, while we did not change psychologically. We still make up for our insecurities through suspicion and friendship, and especially through consumption in times of abundance. But now, in the rich world, there is a constant abundance of food, information and partners that make us both obese and anorexic. Short-term gratification is an ancient psychological mechanism that remains visible in our modern existence. Obesity in the mechanized world and hunger in the non-mechanized world, which moreover has to contend with the dire consequences of our global colonization that place a heavy burden on the planet and the environment. Biodiversity is declining, environmental disasters are common, and our children and grandchildren will have a very difficult time keeping the inherited world livable. George Boole developed the algebra for a truth function in a logical system, true or false, off or on, 0 or 1. However, not all things of value can be captured in Boolean functions. Is art true or is science true? And if it appears to be possible to capture something in such function, the value cannot be determined. Is something art or not? Is something beautiful or ugly, good or bad, old or new? Trying to capture our world in Boolean values will turn out to lead to absolutism, populism, and simplification. Something is news or fake news. Philosophers are often considerably more modest with truth claims than other scientists. Philosopher Richard Rorty, for example, argued that the perspective is impossible with which one can rise above all the other perspectives on reality in order to determine which perspective is correct or true. Even natural sciences must also be seen as a social and cultural phenomenon, equivalent to art and politics. Our world can be described as an extremely complex system consisting of millions of complex subsystems, which cannot be captured with simplification. We can't even rely on what we experience as real, as psychological illusions show. Lotto and Perf showed that even blue is not always blue. Imagination, fantasy and dreams preceded new insights. And wisdom would never come if every step on the road to insight had been fact-checked. On social media, we happily trumpet our thoughts, but if it deviates from mainstream truth or reality, or sounds even like a conspiracy theory, rules and regulation force tech companies to isolate us. Paradoxically, it is precisely the strict division of our world between 0 and 1 that makes it extremely sensitive to fake news. Technology unifies, for example through smartphones, apps and social media on which we present a dream version of ourselves to virtual friends. In the melting pot of the world's omnipresent social media, buying and streaming services, consumers worldwide react the same. Worldwide we regress to global employees or entrepreneurs, recognizable in more and more countries. Global styles with dominant apps, images, culture and language. Local cultures and language get lost every year. With the emergence of the world citizen, man has become standardized by globalized technological machinations, ITL, in the loop. As humanity, we have become such a globally oiled machine that we have come to dominate our planet with all the dangers that entails. Mass production and communication technology, copy-paste, produce monocultures. This has led to an increase in overall material wealth, but at the cost of a disrupted global ecosystem and climate. Since 2017, the mass produced by man, steel, plastic, asphalt, etc., weighs more than all organic mass combined, so plants, animals, microbes, etc., while in 1900 this was only 3%. In 20 years from now, anthropogenic weight will double again if we continue at the current rate. Certainly, copy-paste has already gained momentum with the rise and spread of printing in the 15th century, but now, with the World Wide Web and social media platforms, and giants like Amazon and Alibaba, it seems unstoppable. Yet life itself is also a form of copy-paste. What is good and what is wrong copy-paste? Transformation is a key concept to understand the distinction. Transformation depicts both community and communication. For example, tumor growth, wrong copy-paste, take place without transformation. Unlike other new cells produced in a body, tumor cells duplicate without taking into account the needs of other cells, let alone adapt to them. Community involves producing according to the needs of the others. Because tumor cells don't, they cause damage. Another example forms a Stalinism regime, massive top-down imposed control system that does not accommodate to actual needs of local participants. Non-transformational duplication is non-communicative and therefore blind copy-paste. Transformation means diversifying and evolving, adapting and learning by doing, playing or working. From a single start position to millions of actualizations. That's how culture evolves. Through copy-paste that's not blind but communicative. Everyone produces according to power and receives as requires.